follow through. You follow through. You follow through. You give them a task. You give them something. You follow through. When you do communication, when you say something, there is something called a cycle of communication. The cycle of communication is you say something, it travels, it goes somewhere, and then you receive a confirmation and acknowledgement. Without that acknowledgement, the cycle of communication is not complete. Just because you say, close that door, Muhammad, doesn't mean Muhammad heard it, understood it. The only time you will know he heard it, he understood it, when he said, yes, Dad, I will close that door. Close the kitchen door, Muhammad. Yes, Dad, I will close the kitchen door. Now you know he understood. If he doesn't do it, you jump on him. But before that, before you hear that, just because you said it, and we adults do that too. Just because you said something, you think the person understood. Oh, he did not answer my salam. Just because you said salam doesn't mean the person heard it. Doesn't mean the person saw you. But we act on that. That's why the Prophet ﷺ give your brother how many excuses? 70 excuses, right? Before you come to a... So the other thing about communication is when you're giving something, train them to understand like a traffic light. Green light, yellow light, and red light. Look, your kid is playing, it's time to stop playing with the little toy or whatever. Just don't go and grab that toy anytime. I told you to stop and you grab it and you take it. No. Tell them no. Tell them. If you have a clock, say, okay, fine. If they don't understand, you explain in time. If they have concept of time, you say 5 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever you want. And you say, hey, that's yellow light. All right? Then you come in, you take it, you say it's green light. Because you have prepared them. They know you're going to take that. And again, I was talking to that further. I said, how do you make your kid listen to you? Well, it's all in the intent. It's all in how you say it. You've got to look at that kid in the eye and make that kid feel that you're talking to that kid. And you're not talking over his head or to the arm. Okay, well, I want you to do your homework and you're doing something else. No, you've got to look at him in the eye. I want you to do that now. Now means now. Now the kid gets it, you know. And if you do that, the battle of the sexes. You know where that comes from? Anybody know where that comes from? Anybody drives around 6 o'clock in the morning to listen to K101, Dan Blue. Okay? They have that every morning, battle of the sexes. Mom and dad, do not fight in front of kids. Do not fight about the kids in front of kids. Dads, do not undermine mom. Do not undermine mom. Mom, don't undermine dad. That's the worst thing you can do, because kids are smart. When you do that, they know they have the cutting edge over you, because they will pit one against the other to their advantage. All right? They will pit one against the other to their advantage. Never, never put your spouse down in front of your kids. Never do that. Never do that. Try to always uphold and support each other. Don't fight. The other level of the battle of the sexes, be fair, be fair, be fair with your daughters and your son. Don't favor your son over your daughters. Don't favor your daughters over your son. What is haram for your son is haram for your daughters. What is halal for your daughters is halal for your son. Many parents put rules, especially when they're teenagers. My daughter has to be home 6 o'clock. My son, you do that because they are very sensitive to gender issues. They are very, very sensitive. They're in high school, they're in middle school, high school, they're extremely sensitive to that. And you do that at home, you're going to turn them against you. We are going to turn them against you. Be very careful with that. Put the rules, whatever your rule says, but whatever the rule applies to your son should apply to your daughter. Whatever applies to your daughter should apply to your son, to varying degrees, to the best of your abilities, whatever you can. One dad told me, how could I let my daughter come alone at 10, 11 o'clock? I don't know how to deal with that. Why would you allow your son to come, if he's in high school, to come home at 11 o'clock? Why would you do that? Why your son can do it, I don't know. I can understand why you don't want your daughter to do it, but I don't understand why you allow your son to do it. No? So your home is your home. Exposures, I think this crowd, we can skip that. That's a very good crowd we don't have. But I talked to the special crowd, I won't say where, but even on that aspect, they were not doing. You know, they were very parents that were very, very relaxed and very thing. Incentive to raise good kids. First thing is for our own sake. There's a little bit of selfishness here. It's a little bit of selfishness. Don't think you're 4K1 or something like that?
401k.
401k. Your 401k is your best investment. Don't think your home is your best investment. Kids. Because this is the only one that will raise their hand and make dua for you when you are bones and dust. You know, and the grave is a very lonely place, my friends. The grave is a very, very lonely place. Okay? If you raise good kids, they will remember you. They will make dua for you. You know, if we raise good kids, they will make dua for us. And that's the incentive. That's perhaps the selfishness of it, if we can use that word. Because the Prophet ﷺ has told us when somebody dies, everything stops except three things. The ilm, the sadaqah jariyah, and the righteous child. Okay? So perhaps that's the greatest. In this society, nobody will have time for you. They will come and eat your food at the khatam. I will tell you that. You will see how good food you are having at the khatam, but then they will forget about it. They will not make dua for you. You know, or you don't raise good kids, they will fight over you. The stupid dad didn't leave enough money for me. You know, a better generation to come. That's our dua. That's the basis of how I see us as American Muslims in this country. The basis of Ibrahim alayhi salam. There's so much similarity between our situation and Ibrahim alayhi salam, and he prayed for us, ummatan muslimatin, you know, among his children. We need to do that. We need to make sure that our kids are better Muslim than what we are. That they continue, that we are able to pass them the traditions that have been given on for 1,500 years. And that's the key that we have to do that. Conclusion. After all that we talk about, we started, what did we start with? No formula, right? That's what we started. We conclude with that. There is no formula. After everything that you do, know that things can go wrong. Okay? After everything that you do, be prepared. Things can go wrong. And why we say that? Allah has told us. How hard it was for Nuh alayhi salam to see his son as a Nabi of Allah. He knows what is coming. His son tell him, no, my dad, don't worry, the water will not reach the top of the mountain. Can you imagine as a father, as a Nabi, he sees what his son doesn't see. He understands what his son doesn't understand. How hard it must be. How hard it must be for our father, Adam alayhi salam, to see brother killing a brother. Fratricide, the first fratricide in the human history. How hard it must be for Yaqub alayhi salam. They were, who are you and I? Who are we? That things cannot go wrong with us. We can do efforts, but result is not in our hand. That's the first thing we have to do. We can do everything. We can do everything right. Result is not in our hand. Inna hadihi tazkira faman sha'a ittakhadha ila rabbihi sabila. You have to respect that freedom of choice that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given each one of us. You have to respect it. And otherwise Allah would have made all of it. This is an argument so many times repeated in the Quran. Allah would have made all of us submit to it. But He gave the freedom of choice and the freedom of will that we decide. Can be corrected. That is part also I want to emphasize. Things go wrong. This is not the end of the world. It can be corrected. And as a parents, we've got to be confident. We've got to be patient. And what I want to say about that, if there are signs, especially if there are signs, in our community there's something that we are very guilty about. Because I do a lot of counseling, I tell you that we are so guilty about that because we will never forgive a family that take his child to a counselor. It's a taboo. If my daughter goes to a counselor, nobody will marry her. If my son goes to a counselor, nobody will marry him. We have this taboo. Majnoon. You know, Majnoon is a pagal. That's what they say. In Urdu, pagal. Anybody who speaks Urdu here? I don't know Urdu too much, but I think that's what they call it. They are crazy. No. Just because somebody goes to the counselor doesn't mean this person is crazy. They may have some weaknesses that need to be strengthened. And those people are qualified, they're trained. So if you identify